Hello, Team Flyer, and welcome back to the Always Weird podcast. I'm your host, Ariadna, and we're back once more. I am excited to be here right now because I always am, because I'm talking to you and I get to read all your beautiful comments, and it just lights up my life. It really does. Now, for today's episode, we're going to be talking about 6 uncomfortable lessons that we all need to learn. This was the post sent to me by Lily, which I'll tag her as well, and it's from Steve Bartlett as well, which I will also tag. He did a post recently talking about this, and I'm sitting with all this information as well because currently, as you are a little bit up to date, people through TikTok at this current time of when the podcast is being released, this episode, if it's in a later date, it's in a later date, and that's what happens whenever it depends that you're listening to this. Point being, I've been just having issues with certain people in my life, and it's gotten to be a lot, and it's a lot of lessons that I need to learn from and to by me, myself, and I, basically. So first things first, the first thing he said was and is, your self-love must be stronger than your desire to be loved. Your self-love must be stronger than your desire to be loved. Hands down, a million gazillion percent truth. True, completely and utterly, yes on yes on yes. Now, throughout the season, we've been talking a whole lot about, speaking to yourself kindly and highly, and treat yourself with all the love in the world. And of course, we all have our moments. I feel like with me throughout my whole life, and it's not only pinpointing one particular person or detail or something that happened, just in general, it happened a whole lot where my self-worth was basically on the floor. And what happened to me recently, I spiraled, and when I spiral, it gets really, really bad. Sometimes more than others. For the past few years, it's been a little bit tougher than previous years, but at the same time, I can't really say that for a fact because I never really hold myself accountable to when I was feeling these things in the past. That only started to do recently, not only through vlogging and blogging and TikToks and podcasts and things like that, and comments to you, and because I read your comments and I reply back with depending on, how I feel in that moment and so on and so forth, but also, with my own personal journal. I do talk about my personal journal in a few episodes, and a lot of my TikToks, you see it a whole lot. And I just got myself a couple of new ones for different reasons, because each journal has a reason, and that's what we need in life, at least for me. Because going back to spiraling, I must say that I probably spiraled a whole lot in a really, really dark way when I was a teenager, when I was an early adult, somewhere in my mid-20s, I was probably better. And then due to the pandemic onward, which we're still kind of in it, people, because I forget, we're the way that we are programmed as human beings, when you had trauma that has happened to you, it's kind of like you kind of ignore the bad parts and you kind of just continue on survival mode regardless of what has happened to you, and that's not it either. So point being, it's gotten me. It's a tough subject to talk about in general, not because of the podcast, just in general, because it's just being really vulnerable and with yourself. And like I always say, you can be only one person listening to this, and I know that it's going to reach the right people that needs to be reached at this moment in time. So right now, yeah, even though I'm technically just talking to myself, see my gorgeous view, by the way, because I'm in love with this view. I'm just admitting it's really, really hard and vulnerable to think about yourself this way. So when I spiral, period, not when I spiraled, because I still do so, and I'm getting better, I go really, really dark. And in an episode from the season with Shayla, we did talk about suicidal thoughts. And I think it's really important to point this out, that it is Sadly but truly more common than we think, but also super duper happy news. We have a lot more help now than before. Everywhere I look, there's always someone helping. And also super random fact, but like what people forget about humans in general, like we were born to ask for help. Like when a giraffe is born, they run, right? When a bird is born, they start flying little by little, but they, it's innate for them to fly. When we were born, we cried for help, for food, for diaper change, for sleep, for whatever it is that we were feeling, because we're not able to express ourselves. The only thing we've asked for is for help. And some point of our lifetime, it was programmed in us that asking for help was not okay, that it made you weak, or it made you vulnerable, and you don't need to, or you need to be happy all the time. And I was caught in the same thing. Hence why when I spiraled in the past is completely different than I spiral now, because now I genuinely ask for help. I did ask for help in my early 20s as well, and that's when I started therapy. That's super duper important. So we got to remember that as human beings, we're designed to ask for help and to help each other. And this is another episode reference way back when, at some point of life, talking to Shika, who was also in my show in the first season. We talked about sometimes it's really, really, really good to have a detox, an online detox, and I do it quite often. I'm not always on my phone by any means. But at the same time, we're also being pushed to share more and more. Hence why I'm here. Hence why I'm creating this episode, and hence why you're listening to it. Because we're craving it more. We're realizing what cycles we need to break. Because we're a generation that actually realizes, hey, I want to be healthier than I used to be 2 years ago or 2 days ago. How do I do this? Why am I, in my case, for example, why am I spiraling? Why am I getting to this point, and how can I get myself out of this point? Because those deep, dark thoughts, are scary. And I say them out loud, and I communicate them with my husband, and we communicated to the therapist, these are thoughts that, I'm definitely taking care of. Because I want to make sure that I'm able to get back up from them, because I deserve more. And that one of the many, many things that it comes and stems from is that self-love. Self-love and lack thereof can come literally from a million things. And once again, I'm repeating myself for the third time, especially this season. So thank you for bearing with me, but it's really true. We were not programmed to love ourselves. Hence why I'm making it so deeply and utterly important for everyone to love themselves. Starting right now, starting today. So when I'm caught in this deep, dark level of fully just hatred and disgust and self-doubt, and it's not only crying and crying and crying, which is good for me, because crying for me is my way of releasing, among other ways. It's also shocking to hear those words come out of my mouth, and feeling those feelings. And I generally feel that the long pauses is because I'm trying not to cry as I speak, because it's really hard. How does one get up from that? How does one stop the cycle? And that's also why I'm here. This is my version of stopping the cycle. This is my version of holding myself accountable. This is my version of saying, hey, back in June 2022, I was still spiraling, not all the time, not every day, not every single time that life gets me down. No. However, I was still spiraling to a very dark place. In 2 months, it's going to get better. In 6 months, it's going to get better. And if it gets worse, that's okay too, because that's just lessons that we have to learn. Hence why the post is, and the episode is, 6 uncomfortable lessons that we all need to learn. They're very, very uncomfortable. It's the most uncomfortable thing to sit with yourself. and really sit with yourself and have those negative thoughts and then work through those negative thoughts, or like your actions towards someone else as well, or even yourself. So like that's part 2 of the 6 uncomfortable lessons. So going back to the journals, for example, one of the suggestions of my dear husband and also therapist, they agreed as well, is making a journal or a list in one of the journals of all the times that I have had a rough situation and then I bounced back. Like, I gotten up for that. So yeah, it's weird because, in perspective, like, wait, you're gonna like write all your downfalls? Isn't that gonna be more negative? It's like, no, but these are things that you actually overcame. So going back to the whole pandemic thing, for me, I'm in such a go mood that I kind of forget the pandemic existed, and the pandemic hit me hard. It hit everybody, obviously, but I'm not here talking about everybody. I'm talking about me. It hit me really, really hard in many ways. It really turned my life upside down, and it hit me emotionally and mentally and physically, and it also enlightened me because it made me realize who was also by my side, and that's also very important, but I forgot that happened. It's been, we're still in a pandemic, technically speaking, while I, record this episode and it's being launched. But most countries have gone back without masks, things like that. I'm not going to get into the whole hoity-toity on how the world is with the pandemic. But by now, life is going, I wouldn't say back to normal. I don't think we're all back to normal precisely, but that's a whole different side story. But you get the gist. So with all this said and done, and I'm like, I kind of buried it by accident. And I'm like, no, you're still healing through all those, what's it called? Like, I don't want to call them moments, but you're still healing through all the times that life hit you in the past 2 years. You're still learning those lessons, and that stems down to what you've overcome and the whole journaling thing about stuff that you've overcome. And it starts, the pandemic is huge. Once again, we're still in it. So just writing out pandemic, it's kind of like, yes, pandemic, write that down, but also write down like the little things. The days that I spiraled, that I felt so empty, and the days that I felt so broken that I didn't, want to eat or sleep or do anything, like write those and how you overcome them, how you overcame them. Write those down, because if you can make it out of those, you can make it out of today as well. And there's reasons to, And I thought that was like a really cool idea. It's really brand new to me. I definitely am going to give it a go, because I think it's important to self-reflect and realize that through it all, I have gotten myself back up, and I'm surrounding myself with positive, light workers, that's what I'm trying to say, people. I'm surrounding myself with so much beauty and abundance and health and wealth and things like that. So I feel like that's really fundamental. Another thing that I totally forget. So I'm currently resting because, I've had a back injury recently. And I'm like, I'm still resting. I'm still getting all the abundance. I'm still living, just a really, really beautiful life. And even though there's still moments it's like, I do want to move into a better place, and I do want to make more money, what I love to be doing. I do want to travel more and all these sorts of things. And it's like, but I'm just resting all day, where I'm in this, kind of limbo, stagnant energy. And I'm like, wait, Ariadna, you got to remember, literally 6 weeks ago, you couldn't walk. You couldn't walk 5 minutes, 5 steps, let alone 5 seconds. You couldn't do anything, babes. Look at you now. Am I running a marathon tomorrow? No. Of course not, because, I'm taking care of myself. However, I've come a long way in 6 weeks, and the universe has been like, here, you needed to keep resting. You need to heal these wounds, these injuries, internal and external ones, because that's what you need to go through. And once again, going back to that particular list that we were talking about, those are the things, because at least me, I don't know about you, I tend to forget. They're like, oh, I am a badass bee. Like, this is the reason why I'm a badass bee, you know? Like, these are the reasons why I deserve love, and I'm so worthy of love and being loved exactly who I am, exactly how I am in the moment that I'm present that I am. And, you know, another thing that pops into my mind and popped before, and I made an effort to remember since I share it with you as well, is that sometimes it feels that like I'm only having a hard time right now because I'm kind of sort of capturing it all this way. But I'm like, wait a second, now my whole life has been this way, but not because I'm special or weird or like different. You know what I mean? I've had a hard life because I feel like everyone has had a hard life. Even if you have a quote unquote, I don't want to say even perfect family, but even if you have that stable, loving home, you probably had it tough to some extent. You probably have had situations in life where you've had it tough, and that's also very valid, you know? So I was thinking, I'm like, was I always like this? Was I always reacting? I'm like, I guess. But then once again, this goes back to the first sentence. I'm like, I didn't keep track back then. I knew that I was getting healthier because I felt it and I see it. Another thing about me, for example, I love taking pictures. It's a lot of people have come to me, like, whether they're related or not, whether they've been roommates or not, whether they've been, you know, classmates, co-workers, doesn't matter. I get it. I've gotten a lot. It's like, oh, you take pictures of everything. And I'm like, well, first of all, I really technically don't. Because, I'm not the kind of person that's going to take pictures of, like, all the meals or all the sticks that I come across or all the trees and all the flowers and you know what I mean? But I do take a lot of pictures of myself. And not only selfies, just I say, hey, let me pose here, but way before social media was a thing. Way, this is years on years back. And I take a lot of pictures with people that I'm with. Some people aren't in my life currently because friends come and go, because we outgrow people. I definitely talked about this in one of the many episodes recently as well, that we are able to outgrow things, including people, because we all evolve. Or at least we would want to evolve. Evolve. Anyways, so these pictures of capturing these moments that are very, very special and dear to my heart, I have usually a special folder on my phone that I have all my special pictures, you know, pictures that make me really happy, pictures that just make me feel like a badass bee, or make me feel really loved, or anything else in between, or even if it's just a meal. Like, I was really grateful for that meal. I know, not because it was a 5-star restaurant. It could literally be a coffee and a croissant, you know, and I have that basically every day. Hashtag not really, but when you live in Europe, that's very common breakfast, so it's very common. But you know what I mean? So another thing that they reminded me, as in, once again, my husband, my therapist, people who love me, because they're like, Ariadna, you love pictures, like, look at them more. Find a way to surround yourself with more of that. So I find that very interesting. I already do that quite a bit, thankfully, and I'm going to continue doing it in a different kind of way. But hey, if you like pictures, or if you don't, start taking pictures. Start finding ways to visualize yourself, to capture those moments. So those moments where you feel the darkest, you're like, this is really me. This is who I am. And once again, I'm still only in the first uncomfortable lesson here. Like, I'm still in the your self-love must be stronger than your desire to be loved. Because another suggestion that they've made, and I'm super thankful for this one, I haven't had the guts to do it, at least at the time that I've recorded this episode. I'm recording this episode. It's a video, and you're like, get in there on video all the time. Like, yeah, but I'm just, no. I'm usually behind the scenes, but you know, my lovely team that works with me and for me and with me has encouraged me to do more and more video. But point being, it's a recorded video for me, myself, and I, in the moment that I feel, in the outfit I feel, in the time with the music that I feel the most me possible, and give myself a pep talk, and whatever that may look like, right? Because those moments where I'm really, really down and sad and spiraling all the way to literally the depths of heck, basically, I can watch that video because they're your biggest superhero, your biggest hero, your biggest cheerleader is gonna be you. And you've heard me say this a whole lot, and I truly believe that because I do cheer myself on in a whole lot of things. Like, I'm extroverted and I'm knocking a lot of doors, and that's how I ended up working with Hollywood and like doing a whole bunch of other cool stuff in my life. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go for it, because if I don't go for it, then who else will, But when it comes to self-love, it's a little bit different. So when I said before I don't have the guts to do it, because it's freaking uncomfortable. And this is like, it's not like we're all super ready-made for the camera, you know what I mean? And even if it's just a video to yourself, it's kind of weird when it's to yourself sometimes, but weird in the way that's like very, very, very fun, blah, blah, blah. It's very, very, very vulnerable and uncomfortable. The apology letter that I made for myself last week, that ish was difficult. That ish was really difficult, but hey, I did it. And I shared it. And I'm going to continue doing so. The letter, sharing it, maybe. But the letter, yes. So that's something else I realized when I spiraled recently. I need to show up for myself in different kinds of ways because I've lost a sense of myself. Some way along the pandemic, some way along the line, I've lost a sense of self that was there because I look at those pictures, and when I look at them, like, oh my god, like there was a time that was like, oh, I was thinner or happier or I had more self-confident. I'm like, okay, no, these aren't the points of these pictures. The points of these pictures are to bring me that joy and remind myself that power. So I have flipped the script, because that's another thing. I feel like a lot of the questions I get is like, what do you say to yourself? And I'm like, well, I flipped the script because instead of like me literally bitching about myself and how like thin and how like, I don't know, tan or I don't know, whatever the heck that I was doing in that moment or how much I traveled, I'm like, Ariadna, please calm down. Let's take deep breaths. This was pre-pandemic. It's a pandemic, people. Just because we're so used to it by now doesn't mean that it wasn't big. It's a pandemic that no one saw coming, that no one has ever lived through a pandemic before, and that we literally didn't travel. And for those travelers out there, that I know there's a lot of you who love travel as much as I do, when they took that part away, for our safety, I get it, but when they took a big part of, like, it took a big part of me, because I was like, holy mother of everything. Like, I used to travel literally every weekend. I used to go out all the time, So that's a big part of how it affected me. Now, where was this with all self-love and self-worth in the first uncomfortable lesson? Who the F knows right now, right? So going back to it, am I gonna get through the whole 6? We'll just find out, and I won't wait right about now. So for reals though, it really is something super important to do in order to get better. Sit down with yourself, get uncomfortable, or get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And yeah, could this be part of my pep talk? Like in the future, I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna listen to this episode and listen to what the heck I was saying. And by the way, a secret between you and, not secret now. Secrets, I'm gonna take away that word because wanna know why? Okay, so I took a little mini break to make sure I got this right. Now, before I take a lifetime to find the original quote, let's put it that way. We're gonna get deep again, because some of you know this, some of you don't. Doesn't matter, because I'm a true advocate against this. Of course, against it, please and thank you. I'm getting nervous all over again. I haven't talked about this in a while. I'm starting to do a conference about it really, really soon. I'm so excited to do conferences because we need to be heard a lot more. So when I was a kid, I was sexually abused, and it's something that I don't take lightly, obviously. And throughout the years, got a therapy, got it much better. And I did a lot of conferences. And not only for people who also have been sexually abused, but I also spoke to many schools about it. This is way back, pre-pandemic times, like feels like a million years ago. And I'm starting up again really soon because it's such an important topic to talk about and to discuss. So when I said secret, that's a trigger word because a secret makes you feel unsafe. And especially as a kid, when you're like, oh, like, don't tell anyone, that's a big no-no. Whereas surprise is meant to be shared. For those who know what I'm talking about, thank you very much. And maybe like leave the comments down below of like the actual difference. And for those that don't, I will also try to like research a little bit more about it and tell you guys again. And like, I know I did like a TikTok or a podcast episode about this way back in the day. I'll definitely tag About Consent podcast down below because she talks all about this, and she also trains adults who have gone through it so they have a better upbringing for their own kids. And yeah, so going back to what I was saying, I actually don't remember. I was like, want to know a secret? And I'm like, here I am talking about something completely different. I can make grammar mistakes. It's fine. It's not the end of the world, people. Where was I? Oh, there you go. Want to know an insider tip? I don't know. I'll probably find a different way of saying what I want to say. But you know, what I was saying when I was spiraling, from the day that I recorded this episode, I spiraled a lot last night. And it's not even been 24 hours. I've had a beautiful day during the day with myself and sat down with myself all day. And I got into my best clothes, my best attire that I feel the freaking badass bee that I am. And I'm recording this. Last night, I really thought that I was going to be like gloomy doomy for like 5 days straight or 2 weeks straight. And I'm like, you know what? If I need to be in that state a little longer to release those feelings, that's fine. And if it pours out of me like after the episode, that's fine. However, I'm gonna get back up and like really make the effort to feel lighter and better and set the tone of my day, and because I'm better than this, because I want to overcome, because I want to evolve. Because you have two options in life, and I definitely, once again, spoke a lot about this recently. It's either evolve or repeat. So here we are again. We're choosing to evolve. So let's go to lesson number 2, basically, which is you're always responsible for your emotional reactions. You're always responsible for your emotional reactions. So going back to a little bit at the beginning, I've had a few issues lately with a few people in my life, physically, in the city that I live in currently. They could also be from far away. It doesn't really matter. I guess whatever, depends if you feel reflected or like if you feel... When the example I'm going to give you, if you feel like it's also people that you have in the distance, then that's fine too. You know, they don't have to physically be there. But in my case, they were. And... a lot of conflict happened really quickly because there were too many cooks in the kitchen. There were too many people trying to say what's on their mind, say their opinion, and not only that, they also... with a certain issue that happened, they also pass the blame to each other, and that's the part where I feel where I'm going to include myself. So the first part of it was the way that everything was spoken was very harsh, was very mean, and it kind of blew up out of nowhere. And then essentially there's like two parties, and one party's like, no, you have to, like, in order to get what you want in life, you have to act aggressively, because if someone comes at you aggressively, because there was this person that we have in common that came to all of us very aggressively, and I don't stand for that. You come to talk to me in a calm like manner, because if you are upset, do what it's right for you to let go of that, release that before you come talk to me. This person came in screaming and yelling and just was very, very, very rude to all of us. Now, there's two parties. There was people who were saying aggressive fights aggressive, and there were people, like in my case, I said, I waited for this person to calm down, and then I talked to them calmly. The result of this, the people who acted aggressively now have higher consequences versus people who acted calmly don't have any consequences at all. So this was like a whole kind of like a mind F going on with me, myself, and I, and like everyone else at the same time, but most of all with myself, because like it was a lot happening in that time. I just lived through the very similar pattern recently in the States, and not with the same people by any means. That's the thing. It's like life lesson again. It's like I'm on your door. The same thing is happening. How are you reacting? And I'm like, okay, first of all, I don't like when this person came aggressive towards me, but I did tell that person as well. Yeah, I got away with no consequences because I chose to talk calmly, because I don't feel the need to fight aggressive with aggressive. That party who was fighting aggressive with aggressive was saying that's the only way you're going to get through this person. And I'm like, I don't think so. I am choosing to walk away. We're all choosing to walk away from this person because we all have that lining factor that person's toxic. So we all know that's more about this person than the rest of us combined. But where we really, really crashed and clashed, and it was really, really like a twist and a turn of like debates where it's like, how do you handle things, right? And all this started as well because we all did an action, and this particular person gave us permission to do something, and we finally did it. This person then changed their mind, and they were like, what the F? And came really aggressive towards us, right? And that's also like a huge mistake on their behalf, because it's like, hey, if you change your mind and you didn't tell anyone, that's on you. So the people that this person talked to aggressively, forget about it. No apologies, no anything. The people who he talked calmly to after, because we talked calmly to this person didn't apologize to me by any means. However, this person admitted that they were wrong in the sense of like, oh, I did change my mind, I just didn't tell you. Once again, it's a whole mind F all rolled into one. Now, what happened was the following, basically. It's lined up with this one. You're always responsible for your emotional reactions. It's lined up with this one because with this little story, this little tale, because I chose to stay calm in that moment when this person exploded at me. What happened after is when I talked to someone of the party, of the other people that like understand that the other person's toxic, I kind of exploded in their face a little bit. I didn't yell, I didn't scream, I did not raise my voice, but I was like, I am done being in the middle. I am done talking about the subject. I do not exist right now for this conversation. I am done. Fast forward to like us talking all about it again, and then I also fast forward the next day and I'm like, okay, I probably was a little bit too much for that person. They didn't deserve that either. So I kind of sort of, you know what I mean? I didn't feel bad because once again, I didn't yell at that person. I didn't hit the person. I didn't, belittle the person. But I was like, okay, the anger I felt was not directed to you, like was not because of you, but I directed it towards you by accident. Let me reprogram myself. I apologize. We're fine now. So, and then between the rest of the party, we just kind of agreed that we all had to take the blame anyway. And basically, like, it's one of those life situations that I feel like if you followed up to me the whole crazy story of a 2-minute summary without explaining too much, because it is my private life, but I feel like simple like that, you're probably thinking of a time in your life, whether you're 12 years old or 62, or 82, for all I care, that this has happened to you. And maybe it's happened to you 5 years ago, maybe it happened 5 minutes ago, maybe it's happening right now, which I guess is the same thing as 5 minutes ago, who knows. But You know what I mean? So it's truly important, and it's really uncomfortable lesson that you're always responsible for your emotional reactions, because if you treat aggressive with aggressive, if you are just aggressive for no reason with people, or you belittle them, or you gaslight them, or whatever, like, that's on you, baby boo. Like, that's on you. Same goes when you're angry at a certain topic, but you take it out on somebody else. That's also on you. So it's uncomfortable because, like, once again, I kind of recognized it really, really quickly, thankfully, but because I've gone to therapy a whole lot. Because I probably used to do that at some point of my life when I was much younger, because I was much aggressive when I was much younger, and we've already talked about this in previous episodes. Because the way that I would just explode and I would just, like, release that anger. But now I'm like, okay, no, I recognize that I spoke badly to someone. And it goes down to the point that, like, even when I'm on my pre-period or period or something like that, I, like, tell my husband or tell whoever I'm with, I'm like, I'm sorry if I'm aggressive. I usually am not. I'm pretty chill. He's like, I've never really seen that. Like, I'm like, yeah, but just in case, it's just mood swings. And then I also have, like, a thyroid issue that you already know. And sometimes I come off too strong, or, like, I say something really, it's just one of those lack of hormone imbalance. And I'm like, shoot, sorry. But regardless of thyroid issues and regardless of period issues that we all have, even if you have neither, you're still responsible for your own thoughts. Like, your thoughts as well, but for your reactions as well. Because last night, when I did this, I'm like, oh, this is not my period talking. This is also not my thyroid. This is just me, bitching at someone that shouldn't be needing to be bitch at. So, yeah. I don't know. I think it's my 2 cent story for this particular lesson, and, like, my story alongside with it, because it's really self-explanatory that you're always responsible for your emotional reactions. Work with yourself. Sit down with yourself. Make sure to understand what makes you feel a certain way. When you eat your favorite food, for example, how does that make you feel? When you miss the bus, how does that make you feel? When someone cancels the plans last minute, how does that make you feel? When someone comes in your property yelling at you, demanding stuff out of the blue, when just literally out of the blue, how does that make you feel? And when you do that, like, when you do sit down with yourself, like, okay, how are these issues make me feel? You can also probably guide your emotions alongside it as well. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so, like, when I eat my favorite food, I feel so happy and excited. And my emotional reaction to that could be just smiling all the time. But maybe for other people, it could be, like, screaming. Like, I've met people who literally scream out of happiness when they have their favorite food, or, something they haven't eaten in a really long time, maybe for other people, even when they're really happy, they have to, like, hug everybody, and then you have to realize, oh wait, hugging everybody might not be okay because some people don't like to be hugged, or right now, they weren't feeling that. You know what I mean? I'm taking a positive spin out of it, because you can also go, like, the dark side. You know what I mean? Like, when someone makes you upset, when you upset someone, like, how does that make you feel? What's your reaction to that? And yeah, just pull focus to patterns, basically. But it's always you. It's always on you. And you're allowed to make mistakes. I mean, I make mistakes every day. We all do. Just do whatever feels right for you in that moment as well. But make sure, you own up to them. Whatever feels right for you, obviously, but you have to sit with that as well. So, like, once again, certain lessons, like, this one was pretty easy for me, but maybe the next one, or the one I've had for, like, months ago, like, we'll come back and be like, oh, okay, now I can talk about it. Now I see the connection. Next, number 3. Which one was it? Oh, there it is. Don't feed your problems with thoughts. Starve them with action. I love how that's worded. All right, let's say it one more time. Don't feed your problems with thoughts. Starve them with action. Yeah, that's definitely an uncomfortable lesson to learn. The amount of times that us as human beings, me first, I'm always going to put myself in an example, especially if I have a good one. like an actual example for what I'm talking about, like this one. The amount of times that us as humans, like, research, times a million, and don't do anything about it, it's an everyday life common thing to do. It goes back to evolve or repeat. I say evolve, or repeat. Because, yeah. So, and quick examples. It literally could be anything. The typical person that says, oh, I'm going to travel, and yes, I'm going to do it. I'm, like, saving up money, I'm going to travel, I'm going to do it. I'm going to, like, see this part of Europe or see this part of the world. I'm just waiting for the right time. I'm just going to keep on researching, but I know where I want to be, and, like, I know the hotel I'm going to be, and I know the bar I'm going to be, and I know where I want to go out, and then I'm going to do, like, 3 days here, and you get the point of the idea, because it's really exhausting as much as I'm saying it. We all know, like, kind of person that talks about traveling, or talks about whatever. I just said traveling because I love traveling, so it's a very easy example for me, and plans this perfect thing out, and it's like, oh yeah, these flights, and these dates, and then that person doesn't go. And then time after time again, they're still talking about it. They're still super excited to talk about it. They're like, oh my God, yes. And they don't go. From traveling to working out to anything that you want to change and you don't give yourself permission, or you doubt yourself so much that you don't change. I could have easily said 6 weeks ago, from the date that I'm recording this episode, I can't walk. They told me I can't walk. I'm going to stay this way forever. And that's it. I could have also easily have said, oh, okay, I can't walk currently. My doctors have encouraged me to do these exercises. I'm going to research them some more, and every day I'm going to do them. But before I start doing them, I want to research what's the right ones for me. Week 1 passes by, week 2 passes by, week 3 passes by. And look at that. Me, not in this case, but why not? I didn't start the exercises. Why? Because I'm still researching. And these past 3 weeks, or those first 3 weeks, I'm still the same way. I still can't walk. I haven't started doing it. Because I'm thinking about it. I'm researching, and all of a sudden, 6 weeks later, and I'm still in the same position. You know what I mean? So, obviously, in this particular case, I did not take either of those situations, or options, better said, and I took the third one, which is what I just took the third one. I mean, there might be more options, but I'm saying the third one right now. I did my research, I did talk to all the doctors, and now I'm walking all over again, and I'm much better, in a much healthier state. I still got a long way to go. Once again, I'm not running a marathon. I don't think I would ever run, well, never say never, but running is not my thing, because it's never been my thing. I'm excited to walk all day. I'm excited for the day that I'm able to walk all day, carelessly. But meanwhile, what I've been doing is, I didn't feed that problem with a thought. I starved that problem, apparently, with action. And that's how I feel better. And 6 weeks later, now I'm upping the level of my rehab, of my lifetime of pleasure. Because that's what we deserve. Period. I'm sure I have more examples with this one, because that one's just really, it's a simple one as well, but it also hits hard, because I feel like regardless if you consider yourself an overthinker or not, we think too much about things. I don't know. I've been talking about friends lately about dating, not for me, obviously, for them. And they were like so nervousy lately. They were like, oh, should I text this person? Should I not? Should I like call? Should I not? Like, what do? I really want to see this person again. And I'm like, okay, by the time that you're like thinking about this for 5 days in a row, not doing anything about it, that person's going to be snatched up by somebody else. Go take a leap. It's difficult. I get it. Hence why, hey, as we said already with this episode, 6 uncomfortable lessons we all need to learn. Because this is really uncomfortable. I can probably think of another lesson another thing that I'm only thinking of and not taking action. I don't know. Wait, hold on. Can I? It goes back down to my health really quickly. It's the first one as I wrap up this episode. It's the first one that I thought of, which is like going to the beach or doing like a bigger outing. As I record this, it's currently summer, and I love the beach. I'm one with the sea, and I haven't gone in a long time because I've been worried about my health. I've been worried about my back. I've been worried about all these things because going to the beach means not only a bigger excursion, but it also means, whatchamacallit, sitting on the sand, swimming, which is good for me, but I have to be careful. All those little ifs and buts, basically, like, oh well, maybe it's better to like start small, things like that, right? So it's like, okay, it's been a while. I've got the green light. I'm still not going. Why? Because I'm afraid. And that's also not a cause, but that's also a plus of the problem. Because the problem I have with my health, the thought that comes along with it in this particular case, is fear of getting worse, is fear of falling, and that's my thought. You know what I mean? And that makes no sense. That just makes no sense because anything can happen anywhere, and if you don't take the leap, then you're just going to be repeating all these lessons. And if you know me by now, and you do, I'm all about evolve. I'm not even talking about that episode. like I talked a lot more in that episode about evolve, but I feel like I'm repeating that word a lot more now. Because it's so important. So, the moment that I'm recording this, literally right after this, I am actually going to the beach. I'm actually taking the leap and like being like, okay, I got the green light. I'm doing everything I need to be doing. I'm okay. I'm going to get those negative thoughts out of my head. Why the beach? For me in particular, because it's my happy place. Because the sea's my happy place. And that goes all the way back to what we were talking at the beginning of this episode, where I spiraled, where I have these deep, dark thoughts, and you're like, how do you get yourself out? Well, you surround yourself with things that you mother effing love. You surround yourself with things and people and places that you feel magic, that you feel in love with. And for me, it's the sea. So I have to put and be like, okay, Ariadna, you got this. Universe has got you. Because even when things are okay, you tell the universe it will be okay, because it will be okay. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I just had 3 uncomfortable lessons, and guess what? This is a 2-parter episode, because I'm definitely wrapping this up. So all you have to do now is wait till next week, apparently, to hear the rest of the episodes. Not the episode, well, the episode as well, but the rest of the lessons. Goodness gracious me. All right, thank you so much for listening in, for tuning in, for being here, for being present, for listening to all my episodes. There's some of you that keep commenting, like, oh my god, I started from season 1 all over again, or it's my first time in season 1, or I finally caught up in season 2. Like, you are all so freaking amazing, and I'm so thankful, and I read your comments and your DMs, and you share with me so many things. And like my girl Helene in between said, she's a traveler blogger, so if you want to know anything about Europe and the States traveling, but especially about Europe, she's your girl. She knows everything, legit. Like she said, yeah, money and likes are great and affirming. Community is everything. Community like trumps all that. Like legit, the communication I have with you, the clarity I have with you, the way that you make me think, the way that you are like asking me deep questions. I'm like, oh my god, these are like a million podcast episodes more. It's like, oh my god, but the season's almost over. But yeah, just thank you so much. Thank you. And meanwhile, I'm always on TikTok, and that's a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, a little bit, and also very personal, because I keep it real, and I do what I can to put the good word out there of, you got this. Believe in yourself. And please love yourself. As Ariadna hugs herself right now. A really, really nice big bear hug. Oh my goodness. Alright then. Stay tuned next week for the next 3 uncomfortable lessons left. Talk to y'all really soon. And what was your lesson? Out of the 3 that I just mentioned, what was the one that spoke out to you the most? All right. Your self-love must be stronger than your desire to be loved. You're always responsible for your emotional reactions. Or don't feed your problems with thoughts, starve them with action. Let me know down below. See you all next week, Team Flyer. Thank you. Have a beautiful day. Bye.